Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over the Gems of War event objectives for the week of A Horse is a Horse event, in which the Thaumataur is added to the game. This is going to be our last Guild War week before version 5.0, and we're going to be getting a really good mythic this Friday that brings in an old mechanic all the way from version 2.0. But anyways, let's start getting into these. So as far as the Thaumataur, it's actually going to be okay in early game. You wouldn't really use it beyond that point, but it's going to be great for a purple day defend. Basically what it gets to do is it gets to do a lot of damage to all purple enemies, which will be a full AoE, assuming that all 4 of your enemies are purple, which of course, if you're using this on defend for your purple Guild War defend team, it will be able to do. I like the theme that they're starting to add troops that actually counter stuff for Guild Wars, or are actually usable for Guild Wars during the Guild War week. I've noticed that they're kind of starting to do that now, and I hope they continue to do this, as it will give actually some incentive to potentially use different teams. However, this will only affect probably newer players for the most part, as beyond level 100 and 1,000, stuff like that, you're probably never going to touch this troop just because it's just too little damage. But it does have some nice full AoE damage if they are using pure purple, and has a little bit of a mana drain on it. It is a drain, so it doesn't get to accumulate that mana, unfortunately, otherwise it would actually be pretty decent if it did. But it's basically just a random mana drain. It's very, very small. However, it's enough to make sure they don't have full mana. So if nothing else, it'll make sure that all of them won't be able to cast. As far as its traits, that's where it's pretty much lacking. It doesn't have any exceptionally good traits. If it did, it could be pretty high up there, like if it had like an Empower or something like that. But unfortunately, it doesn't. And for that reason, very, very rare, very, very situational. And at most, you'd probably just use it for Guild War prior to level 500 for purple defend. So it's something you can incorporate if you don't have anything for that. Otherwise, it's pretty much just worth skipping and, only upgrading for the sake of getting Kingdom Stars. But that's that troop. Sentry is a purple counter. If you haven't gotten Spoils of War, do always remember to go get this, 10 event keys. You can get these 10 event keys every single week. It's kind of hiding now underneath resources, but don't forget it is still there, so make sure to go and grab those 10 every single week. It's 1,800 glory, 180 each. However, the value of converting them is definitely worth it, and if you have the glory, you should be doing that every single week. Also, if you don't have the glory, you can actually farm some glory this week. Every single time that you use the current event trip in PvP, you will get 5 additional glory. This can be done very easily on 1 trophy battles, particularly in casual PvP, just by using it on your team, taking those really easy battles, and then getting a whole extra 5 glory per battle. It's not as efficient as farming glory whenever it is a gnome event. However, it is still an alternative way of accumulating glory. Other than that, we have 10% to all centaurs and 10% to all mystics this week. Unfortunately, that doesn't really have too much overlap. I think like 2 or 3 troops have 20% this week, so nothing really too special happening out of that. Other than that, as far as chest drop table, of course, it is a Dragonian Fields event week. So as far as what drop table that is, it is all of these following troops. Every single thing you see here is available in the event key drop table. For the most part, nothing too exceptional. It does have the highest dodge troop in the game, though there is a hero class that has slightly higher. We're probably going to get a mythic eventually that has like 50 or 60%. But as far as troops are concerned, it's technically the highest. Herdmaster is an okay cleanse, but it's low enough rarity that you probably already have it laying around. One kind of useful thing if you want to open a few of them is Henry. We do have an invasion event this Friday, and he is the invasion troop that you'll be doing. So if you don't want to spend gems, if you're just going to be doing a small amount and you still don't have a max, you could theoretically get him up with event keys, though not really too advised to do that. And overall, just nothing really too good. Ragnargor is outshined by Mountain Crusher these days in the current meta. And I guess if you want to go get Wardbreaker for 10 star, it is the only mythic from Dragonian Fields. So if you do want a 10 star above Dragonian Fields, of which you can currently reach 15 stars as of today with the new troop that got added, you could end up picking this up. Dragons are pretty much out of meta. However, it synergizes pretty well with Bronze-like Pistol. So even if you're picking it up kind of earlier or mid-game, you'd still have something to be able to synergize with it that you basically get for free, since Bronze-like Pistol you get from just leveling up your hero. So it's okay in that regard. Overall, it's pretty dated and has the second highest mana cost of any mythic in the game, only outshined by Zugoff. So overall, not really that worth it, and probably worth skipping on event keys this week. So do be mindful of that. Other than that, of course, as I mentioned, we have Guild Wars. As we normally do, we will be streaming Guild Wars every single night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and tonight we'll just kind of be messing around with the teams for the week. Might revamp a couple things, test stuff out, and go from there. But we'll be streaming every night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave it on the video or then. Also, the meta will be probably shifting a little bit going into next Guild War, of which I will probably cover more content in relation to this. However, as it currently stands, anything that I might end up mentioning might end up changing the next patch for reasons that will be disclosed soon, TM, as soon as we can. But do be mindful, this is the final Guild War prior to version 5.0. Other than that, Tuesday, we have ourselves Stonesong Eyrie, one of the easier factions to do without potions. However, if you do want to do it with potions, it is pretty even easier, since you get a nice hefty AoE with a nice amount of summons. So it makes it even easier to do if you want to do it that way. The epic that you also get from buying the packs is a super good one, Harpy Mage. Of course, you can just get it off of Chaos Shards, but it is a nice troop to have around. It's basically like an alternative Mountain Crusher in a way, just as a troop. This Wednesday, we're getting a new pet. It's basically a hamburger for Independence Day. Not really going to be having many cookouts though due to the virus, but nonetheless we will be getting that new cosmetic pet for the 4th of July. Obviously not exactly on the 4th of July, but you know, that's what it's for, the Independence Day thing in the United States. But yeah, we'll be able to get that pet, just fully cosmetic. So yeah, it's just a burger. Thursday we'll be having the Oracle hero class. As you guys probably saw, it's one of the last hero classes I ever bothered maxing. I think it was like second to last or so, third to last, somewhere around there. But yeah, it's a pretty bad hero class. If nothing else, you probably don't have it maxed, so at least you'll be able to get some free XP towards it. I would not bother spending gems on it because it is a very, very bad hero class. In the current state of the game, unless they're going to be rebalancing it sometime in the future, it is just never going to be used. It's supposed to be used with centaurs, and even with a pure centaur team, it's not even the best hero class you could use, so definitely worth skipping. And as I mentioned, we have two things happening on this Friday. The first one is we're going to be having an invasion event, of which the troop already exists, so you'll just simply be able to go and use that. A lot of people might already have it to Legend or Mythic and stuff like that, and even if not, as I mentioned, it's also an event key drop table, so you'd be able to get it prior if you so wanted to. You can also buy it up during the event itself. However, the more interesting thing that we're going to be getting is a new Mythic this Friday. We'll be, of course, going over teams and everything in depth once it ends up launching and doing a key opening and all that good stuff as normal. However, the most interesting thing about it is it brings in an old mechanic that if any of you have been playing the game pretty much since the start, it's a mechanic from about 4 years ago from version 2.0 patch. When they first added traits to the game, they added a 100% chance to do true damage, and this was extremely broken at the time because of how easily it was to pretty much one-shot everything, at least in the current state of the game back then. However, the game has developed quite a bit and power creeped and a bunch of other things to the point where 100% chance to do true damage now isn't really as strong as it was, while still being a very strong mechanic. This Mythic coming out this Friday has potential to be the top 5 Mythic in the entire game. Definitely top 10, but potentially even higher than that. So definitely worth considering saving all the keys that you get from your guild this week and prior to save it for this Friday and try at least attempting for the new Mythic, as it does have a lot of potential to be really good with a 100% chance to do true damage every single skull, basically meaning you can build an entire true damage team around it or simply just ignore skulls altogether. I mean, ignore HP altogether. I mean, gosh, I'll say it right eventually. Ignore armor altogether, essentially making it so you're only hitting on one specific stat, their HP. So yeah, has a lot of potential. We'll have to see how it pans out, and definitely worth considering getting. Other than that, as far as things to get this week from Soulforge, the most noteworthy one to mention, especially given that it's a Guild War week right now, is Wild Queen. Wild Queen is absurdly overpowered for Guild Wars. Honestly, it is probably single-handedly the best Guild War troop in the entire game, and given that we have a Guild War this week, and she's in Soulforge, I highly advise getting her. She can basically auto-win you, well, not necessarily auto-win, but a really, really good chance to win Brown, Green, and Purple Guild War Day. She can pretty consistently score over 9,600 points, assuming you're in a max guild that's getting the full bonus and you're using a pure color 4x team. So yeah, she just completely rips apart those 3 days, so 100% worth getting. She will, even if you already have good options for all 3 of those days, she could probably help increase your amount of score that you get by a couple hundred on all 3 of those days, as everything she does is insanely good for how Guild War gets scored. She lowers the enemy's attack, so all their skulls will do less damage, so you take less damage, so you lose less points from them doing damage to you. She steals attack and gives it to your first slot, which will allow you to do more damage quicker, which will make it so your turn count is lower, as well as just doing more damage per turn. She also ends up doing a lot of mana accumulation while simultaneously doing skulls. They buffed this a little over a year back, and ever since they buffed this up to a 22 spawn, it is now even better than it was before for being able to do its mana accumulation while also still being able to get down its skulls. It also ends up getting additional attack per turn, so even if you're losing some of your turns, you'll still have a way of getting even more attack if that wasn't already enough. You'll also be able to have your Bone Storm whenever an ally ends up dying out. In case you even fall behind, you'll have a way of doing even more damage, and just overall, it just has everything you could potentially really need in a Guild War situation. So 100% highly advise getting this thing if you're going to craft anything. However, there's still other options that are available that are also decent this week. If you're going for a legend, while I generally do not advise this, Queen Titania is one of the few legends within the game that is actually worth getting. She still has, at this current moment in time, the best Fairy Fire in the entire game, being able to Fairy Fire random enemies on 4x, 5x matches, while also having a pretty solid full AoE, being able to deal damage to all enemies while boost ratioing off of red, and this ends up doing it both off of red enemies and allies, meaning not only does she get a boost ratio off herself, but if you're using this on, like, let's say a red Guild War team, you could get a lot of potential damage, since even if the enemy isn't using a single red, you'd be getting 16 additional damage, and that would also be doing 50% extra based on Fairy Fire, so you're going to get a lot of value out of this overall. And on top of that, all that, if that wasn't already enough, you gain an extra turn if there's 13 plus red on the board, and if you're using a really heavy red team, you're probably going to be having mana accumulation for that anyways, which will help you get 13 red on the board, so that she can auto extra turn. So overall, really great value. One of the few legends that you would actually go out of your way to craft if you don't have it. Other than that, the only other thing that's somewhat worth it is Megavore. I personally do not use Megavore much, if even at all. However, it does have the only troop in the game that has a 4x eliminate armor. This is both good and bad. Basically, this allows you to essentially do true damage after you cast this, because it gets rid of all their armor, so you don't need to worry about armor for the rest of the battle. It also has enough damage where it can sometimes even one-shot, because it gains double its value off of its magic, so that can sometimes be enough damage to actually secure a kill. So it ends up working out pretty well, but it's mostly used in kind of like quick wipe teams where you end up casting it, getting rid of all their armors, cast one other really heavy ability that basically wipes out the opposing team, and just basically win from there. It's probably the most common setup that it ends up getting utilized for. The main thing I don't like about it is there are a lot of really good hero weapons that boost ratio based on armor, as well as some troops like Tesla. But this ends up making it so you can't end up synergizing it with those options. So for example, you can't use like the value of a Yasmin's Pride or a Mang or something like that if you're using this, because you just have to use one or the other. And due to those lack of synergies, that's, I feel like, the biggest thing really holding this thing back. It does have potential in various teams. It also has, on paper, some of the best traits in the entire game. It has extra HP on every extra turn. It has immune or impervious, which gives immune to almost everything. And it has an 8% chance to kill every single time it does an extra turn. This is surprisingly inconsistent, though. Well, obviously, it's only 8% chance. But that's either it gets you like the auto win very quick, or it'll just never trigger during an entire battle. And honestly, in something like a Guild War situation, you'd pretty much never use Megavore. For one, instant kill doesn't even count towards points, because how it gets scored is kind of weird. Same as the armor elimination doesn't count for points. But also, it's just way too inconsistent. And for that reason, it doesn't tend to get used in PvP. It doesn't tend to get used in Guild Wars. Its most common purpose, actually, I believe, is Explore 12. And you can basically use it in Explore 12, tear all their armor, and as I mentioned, just throw down a really big ability or two, and it ends up killing out the entire battle. I feel like that's its only real purpose, and occasionally for delves. Like if you had this mythic and you didn't have anything else, like an Irongut or something, you could end up getting away with this in delves. It's not the best option, but it is definitely doable in most of the battles. But overall, those are probably the two things I would say, with a higher preference for Wild Queen, especially due to her viability this week. So, yeah, Wild Queen, maybe Queen Titania. Also, I completely skipped over Web Spinner, but yes, obviously Web Spinner is also insanely good. Actually, he's very similar to the new Mythic that's coming this Friday. The new Mythic will actually have less damage than Web Spinner. There are instances where triple damage on Web Spinner, or almost every instance, where triple damage with Web Spinner is actually more damage overall than the Mythic that's coming this Friday. However, the thing that makes this Mythic so good that's coming this Friday is the fact that it has Skull Spam off of its ability, of which Web Spinner does not. However, the other thing that ends up making it good is the fact that it doesn't need to worry about immunity. Something like Web Spinner, while it is very rare, it does have to worry about Bless, it does have to worry about immune to Web, which is very rare, and it does have to worry about Impervious. So these are things that can end up appearing that will stop it. However, there is nothing that will have immune to you directly hitting their HP. So this Mythic, while it will slightly do less damage on paper than what Web Spinner does, it will be more well-rounded in what can actually fight, since there are some limitations to what Web Spinner can actually do its additional damage on. However, Web Spinner does technically do more damage, since triple will be more than just hitting directly on their HP. So it's kind of like a trade-off kind of thing. So Web Spinner will still be viable going even after this new Mythic comes out. So if you want a cheaper version of this Mythic, if you don't end up getting it this weekend, you can end up just crafting Web Spinner if you don't already have it, and you can just pretend the Web Spinner is the Mythic, as it will serve the same role in quite a few instances, and it's much easier to obtain. Anyways, as far as weapons, I'd honestly just skip all three of them. If you were to get one, I guess go Doom's Chronicles. I wouldn't really advise it. There's so many better Doom weapons out there, plus it's even more costly, but all three of these are pretty much just worth skipping. And to be honest, this is probably one of the few weeks where just skip the weapons, and just wait, because we'll obviously be getting a bunch of weapons into the future that will probably be way better than these. But yeah, if you had to go for one, either Doom's Chronicles or Rosebow. Rosebow's kind of okay. Obviously, we need more good Divinian Field troops coming into the game, and as it currently stands, with Divinian Field's hero class being so bad, as well as most of the troops just being pretty average, or just utility troops that you wouldn't use like 4 times Divinian Fields for, it's rather underpowered and almost never used. So overall, just skip weapons. Just go for the troops instead. Anyway, so teams. Let's go over a bunch of teams throughout the week today. So I have several that I want to go over. First off, we have ourselves a very, very, very cheap, and I mean ultra cheap, like level under 500, maybe even lower, kind of team that you can use with the new troop. So obviously this new troop is geared towards newer players and mid-game players, but mostly people who are still kind of getting into Guild Wars, because obviously Guild Wars can require a lot of troops, and I think they're starting to try to add like a bit more lower rarity ones, so that newer players, mid-game players, stuff like that, can better get gauged with Guild Wars, because Guild Wars generally requires a lot of troops that are super hard to obtain, like Wild Queen and such, that kind of make it hard to end up building teams around for defend and offensively. So it's nice to see them adding more options. And with this, this is a really low rarity. Every single thing here is ultra rare or below. The hardest thing to really get is probably the Moonsinger, which is an ultra rare. This you just get from some glory, and it's a rare, 300 glory. And this is a rare that you can just find off of random gold keys or glory keys. Either of those two, gold keys or glory keys, could end up having that as a drop. And Holy Symbol you get for free from just brown and yellow mastery. By level 150 or so, you should already have this weapon laying around. But yeah, it's basically just a purple defend counter team. You would use this specifically as your purple Guild War defend. Do not use it offensively. This is purple Guild War defend. Basically what it has is Holy Symbol. This ends up doing double damage to purple enemies. Also, if you ever eventually get this weapon up, it has both barrier and cleanse. So that ends up working out pretty well. Also gives some extra mana to your yellow allies. Savage Hunter, it might seem weird to have a anti-green troop on a purple day, because obviously they're going to be using 4 times purple. However, this does end up working out very, very well, for the one reason that almost every single offensive purple Guild War day will end up having an Empower on it. The most common Empower that will be ran is a Leprechaun. Leprechaun ends up exploding a bunch of gems and all that, but it's both purple and green. There's also a chance they'll run a second purple-green, and that is, of course, Wild Queen. Wild Queen plus Leprechaun is exceedingly popular on a purple Guild War day, and those are 2 total green troops. So with this, you'll be able to go and potentially the AI will hopefully hit one of those 2 or 1 green troops that it has, and end up doing a lot of damage to it, since it gets to do triple damage to green. Obviously, we'll have no control over this, since it will be the AI controlling it, plus it has a chance to miss. However, that is ideally the goal with it, is they're going to use Leprechaun, plus maybe one other troop like Wild Queen, or just something else that happens to use green on their purple team, and this will ideally hit those, and then they will die quickly. It also even has value when it doesn't go against green. It gets to do 2 times damage against everything that doesn't have immune to Hunter's Mark, and if you got a kill, it also gets to go and get Enraged, which will allow it to do 1.5 times damage and hit through skulls. You could theoretically even put this into first slot if you want to. However, just had this not in first slot, simply to allow your hero to tank with a Titan hero class, since depending on how low your stats are, your Savage Hunter earlier on and into mid-game might have really low stats and die too quickly. So with Titan gaining barrier, that will allow it to not die as quickly your entire team. Other than that, Thaumataur, of course, obviously against a pure purple team, will end up doing additional damage to all their purples and draining them down so they can't cast as much. And Moonsinger here is just to convert away purple, pretty much doing an Empower into something that converts away the color of the Guild War Day. It's pretty much always a pretty good go-to option, and this is an ultra rare, unlike some of the other ones that are epic rarity, which are harder to do. However, this is ultra rare, so it's a little bit easier to get the trait stones for. Everything ultra rare and below are pretty easy to trait. It's only once they start getting to epic and above when they start getting relatively hard to trait, but since that is ultra rare, shouldn't take too long to end up getting it out, and that ends up converting out purple to green, which not only counters out their purple, but gives you green for Savage Hunter, which will hopefully, of course, hit one of the 1 or 2 green troops that they have. And yeah, that's pretty much the whole premise of this team, if you want to run that in early to mid game. Other than that, for 20 to 100 on the faction event of Stonesong Eyrie for this Tuesday, you can run Mountain Crusher, Harpy Mage into double Gargoyle, nice and cheap. Every single thing in this team is pretty easy to obtain. These are epics, but they are epics that you gain from factions that are a lot easier to get. get. Mountain Crusher you end up getting just from some Brown Mastery. You'd likely have it by around level 100, 150. Harpy Mage, you probably are just going to get from the event anyways. You can buy some packs, and I think by the second pack, you actually get a free Harpy Mage. And even if you don't, you can just throw, because it's a Stonesong Eyrie event, and Harpy Mage you get for free from Stonesong Eyrie after 90 gems. Well, I guess that's not free, but you get the point. You can get it really easily tomorrow. But even if not, throw Chaos Shards into a Stonesong Eyrie if you haven't already gotten it. Other than that, Gargoyle, you throw Chaos Shards into Hall of Guardians, and boom, you just got yourself a decent team. Gargoyle, you just cast on the second slot, then fourth slot, and ideally, you'll have enough damage to win. And if not, you just keep casting your mana accumulation, both of them with Brown Storm. You just keep getting a lot of brown mana. You keep getting 2 extra brown per thing. Titan gains barrier every brown. And overall, you just be really tanky and just keep doing damage over and over again. Works out pretty good for the brown-yellow restriction. Next up, we have a really expensive team if you want to go super deep. We do have a cheaper one below as well. However, if you have literally everything in the game, this is one of the go-to options for Stonesong Eyrie to get to 500. It is Mountain Crusher, Harpy Mage, High King Irongut, and Vash'Dagon. Obviously, you just use High King Irongut to end up killing everything out. Mountain Crusher plus Harpy Mage, really good mana accumulation, double option, so ends up accumulating mana very quick. High King Irongut just keeps getting its instant kills since you'll have a higher attack in Delves, which will bring you a lot closer to 100%. And after its first Devour, it'll definitely have 100%. And the Vash'Dagon is here for the main purpose of having Curse. It gets to curse a random enemy when matching brown gems, and obviously you'll be matching a lot of brown gems with Mountain Crusher plus Harpy Mage, feeding into High King Irongut. So you'll be able to utilize this in order to go and be able to devour everything. Because, of course, things do have immune to devour in the game. However, if they are cursed, they will no longer have immune to devour. So you can end up using that combination to be able to devour every single battle within Delves. Ends up working out pretty well. Other than that, if you need a lower version of this, you can end up going with a Mang team. Mang with Harpy Mage being your main mana accumulator, and probably the first thing you want to go for to make sure that she gets up and ready to go. However, if you are running with any amount of potions, you will have a enchant on her, so she will auto full mana after 2 turns. So you could theoretically go for a brown first in order to secure a barrier for safety's sake, and then just let her enchant up to full mana the following turn, basically making her a second turn in power in a way, since she has 75% mana start, and if you have enchant, she'll have full mana on second turn rather than first turn, which ends up working out pretty well. Dragonian Monk here is just here for a barrier option to barrier everything else on your team. Obviously, in early game, mid game, you might have lower stats, so low that level 500, 400, 300 Delves might be able to kill you pretty much in one shot, and Dragonian Monk is basically your way to bypass that. He gets to barrier your entire team as long as you hit 4 yellows, and this will make sure that you don't die. Obviously, you'll be able to get barrier every single brown off a Titan. However, there's no way to get barrier for your other 3, so you can use Dragonian Monk for that to be your barrier option. Also has a pretty good board control. And other than that, there's a couple different options you can use for your last slot. However, this one shows Gimlet. This ends up converting all green to brown, so obviously mana accumulate for both your Mang and Dragonian Monk. And it also gives a little bit of safety HP while also giving Enrage to allow your Mang to hit even higher and through all traits. So overall, ends up working out pretty well. Does use a lot of the same color, but should still end up functioning nicely. Other than that, for Purifaction, assuming that you're doing Purifaction on Tuesday, you're obviously doing potions with it. So with potions, Queen Zachi should be really easy to end up wiping it out. You'll probably have close to 70, 80, 90, maybe even 100 damage overall. This damage will be pretty substantial, and you just basically keep spamming it. Even without potions, it still ends up working out as a pretty decent strategy, mostly because you can keep getting summons. There's a 35% chance to summon a Harpy Mage when matching 4 or 5 times, and basically you can kind of use your Harpy Mages as meat shields and just keep poking them over and over again with Queen Zachi. The biggest concern with this team always is if your Queen Zachis die. This can obviously end up happening. However, with potions, this should be very, very rare, if ever, that they'll end up going down. But you just use your Harpy Mage for quick mana accumulation, keep spamming Zachi, and just go from there. And that's all you really have to do to end up winning out the battle. Pretty straightforward Purifaction, and with potions, it should be a cakewalk with how much damage and summon Queen Zachi has, since you basically have 2 infinitely spawning meat shields, great mana accumulation, and really high damage output. So yeah, overall, really nice. This Thursday, we will be having Oracle class. As I mentioned, Oracle class is one of the absolute worst hero classes in the entire game. As far as running through the event is probably one of the easier ones, though, mostly because of Astral Spirit. Astral Spirit, for the earlier battles, can actually one-shot them with how much true damage it has. You can use it as board control, has some power, ends up working out very well. You can end up doing this with Dawnbringer just to kind of have a nice little wipe, since it boosts ratios off of yellow. If you don't have Dawnbringer, your next best bet will be to go for Black Manacle. Black Manacle will be able to do some nice full AoE damage, and it has no mana conflict with the Astral Spirit. So you might want to change the banner up, of course, a little bit more more into like a +2 brown blue or something like that. Definitely +2 brown to make sure you have black manacle with like Titan or something, and it would go pretty easy if you want to go down the black manacle route. However, Dawnbringer is a bit more damage if you have it, so it gives something to use that Dawnbringer for if you have crafted it. Other than that, I do want to go show what's her name in practice, and she is available this week. I do want to show Wild Queen. So there are a couple different Wild Queen teams. There's a that's not the Wild Queen team. This one ends up using it with Surquin with a Templar to kind of end up countering out anything that has a spell, like Yagoi Queen of Tanya. We have this one here with Zugov. Zugov ends up working out really well for it because Zugov can normally die pretty easily to skulls, but with Wild Queen's attack steal ends up working out pretty well since you can kind of negate it out. And for green, we have it with an Apothecary, ends up working out really well with Doomed Glaive, which if I'm not mistaken is actually available in Soulforge in a few weeks, by the way. You'll be able to go craft that very soon. I believe it's 3 weeks from now, the 3rd week of July. So is that 4 weeks from now? I don't know. It's like around the 3rd week of July or something. I forget exactly when. I think it's the 20th, if I'm not mistaken. You can be able to craft this weapon again. So definitely do so. It's one of the best Doom weapons. Actually, one of the best Doom weapons, weapons period, I think, in the game. Like, probably top 5 overall. Really useful. It gets to convert browns to Doom Skulls. This is insanely good with Truffle as well as with Queen Beatrix, as they both end up creating green and brown. Green feeds into it. Brown obviously gets converted to Doom Skulls and ends up being super good synergy. I would say it's a little bit better with Truffle overall, but still overall very, very nice option. And obviously you can use it with Wild Queen with this kind of team because you're getting a lot of brown off Apothecary. She acts as your cleanse, so you don't have to worry about Entangle or anything. You then get a gigantic hit off of this, and obviously Wild Queen doing her normal thing, and Possessed King kind of just there for mana. But let's go show the Zugov one. It's obviously the more expensive one of one you could end up making. However, you could end up trading off the Zugov for your hero. And just doing a purple weapon hero. If you were to do that, I think you would go Black Manacles in this particular instance. And just kind of go with like a safety pick right there, like maybe like a Titan or something. But here, obviously, we're using the Zugov version. Here, we can end up going for a really high attack steal. I'm actually going to do it on this one just out of safety's sake, though it does look like we didn't end up getting the kill there. So what we're actually going to do is just kill out as a hero so he doesn't get resummoned, and it was keep destroying it with a really high damage output that we have. Ideally, we'd have alignment for this convert, though I think we created so many skulls, we did not have alignment, so looks like we could just take it with skull to skull, and never mind, we already win anyways. And as you can see, Wild Queen is so ridiculously strong in a Guild War context. That was pure color. That was a pure color purple team, and it won pretty much effortlessly. So yeah, go get yourself a Wild Queen if you can afford her. She is so insane for Guild Wars. Honestly, single-handedly the best thing you could ever get for Guild Wars. She's pretty much the Irongut of Guild Wars, whereas Irongut's pretty much the best thing you could ever try getting if you want an improvement to your factions whenever you're going through those to 500. Wild Queen's basically that equivalent for Guild Wars, where she makes brown, green, and purple Guild War pretty much a breeze. Obviously, you can still lose. There are counters to her, like Entangle and such, though in the Zugov team, you actually don't need to worry about it because, boom, impervious. But, yeah, there are counters to it. However, for the most part, she is insanely good. Also, freeze. Freeze is the other big issue. But, boom, impervious. But, obviously, you can counter it. The other one actually counters it with cleanse, so we don't need to worry about it. It's Apothecary team. So if you're doing it for Green Day, you don't need to worry about Entangle or freeze due to cleanse off of Apothecary. So there's ways to work around it. I feel like Brown Day has the least amount of ways to currently work around it. But for Green and Purple Days, they definitely have several different ways that you can end up doing it if you so choose. But anyways, guys, that'll wrap it up for this video. As I mentioned, we'll be covering Guild Wars every single night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time this week. We'll be going over the Mythic once it releases this Friday, doing a key opening and all that. And that's pretty much the game plan. Hope you all have a wonderful week. Best of luck with everything. Hope you get these Mythic this Friday if you try going for it. And stay safe out there. I'll catch you guys later. And thank you all so much for watching. And have a good Independence Day. Goodbye, everyone.